Well, we start our little story with Jim and Baldy trying to find the town of Ahloso. They've been riding for hours and they can't find this town. Jim said, maybe we'll come across someone that knows how to get to Ahloso. Jim said, here comes a fella now. We'll ask him. Jim says, how do you get to Ahloso, buddy? Rigsby said, you just go down this road, you come to that big wide one, turn right. Baldy says, have a chew tobacco. He says, no, I never chew, I just dip. Well, the Denko stage is on its way to Ahloso, that's the end of the line, and it's loaded with people. Hugh Norris is the driver, Ralph Childs riding shotgun, and the rear guard is Jim Bullard. He's shooting a little target practice. He's having a little target practice. Well, Jim and Baldy, they come to the main highway. Jim says, here comes the stage. Let's just follow it into Ahloso. They know where they're going, no, we sure don't. Whoop, somebody lost their hat. Jim said, look, Baldy, someone lost their hat. Brand new hat. Bet it's expensive. Baldy says, it sure is. Jim says, I think I'll just put it on those strawberries' head. He's getting mighty hot. Well, this is the town of Ahloso, the Dead Dog Saloon, the general store, and Scott's Ladies Wear. And they're trying to get in, but Charlie Scott hasn't opened up the store this morning, so the girls will have to wait a while. That's Mrs. W.O. Smith, Mrs. Edith Floyd, Mrs. Roy Lawler, and Mrs. Hugh Norris. And the stage finally gets to town. And as always, there's a big crowd to meet it. Come on, Shorty, get down there and let the girl step on your back getting off the stage. There's Ralph Childs. There's Charlie Thompson. Max Morrison. There's Joe Bryan Jr., Old Spot, and Sal Hepatica. And she says, Mr. Driver, why didn't you stop that stage down the line there so I could get my hat? He said, lady, we can't stop every time somebody loses something. We've got a schedule, you know. Well, that for you. Come on, Shorty, I'll help you with the trunk. Well, that's Harvey Lambert, the town drunk, and the preacher, Louis Long, comes over to talk to him about his drinking. He said, "Mister, why don't you stop this drinking? Don't you know it's going to ruin your health? Don't you know you make enemies? Don't you know that you lose your family? It says here that if you drink too much, you'll be an alcoholic. Come on, fella, let's straighten up, fly right." Joe Bryan comes in to find out about where he can find some gold. Hugh Norris has a map, and he says, "You go right on down here to the creek, and there's gold nuggets all over the creek." Scott Boblich goes over to see Sal, and he said, "Ma'am, can I help you?" She said, "I'm supposed to have a wagon in here to pick me up and take me to the ranch." He said, "There it comes now." That's Tony Floyd, the ranch hand, driving the wagon. He said, "Sal, the boss sent me in to get you. Come on, let's get in the wagon, get back to the ranch." "Come on, boy, get up, let's go. Get up there." Jim and Baldy finally find the town. Jim ties his horse and says, "Baldy, tie up your horse and let's go in here and have a drink." Jim says, "Come on, Baldy, here's a table over here. Let's go over and sit down and have a drink." The waiter says, "I'll clean this table and I'll get your order." "What do you have, buddy? Give me something you can't get your hands on." "Oh, don't be smart with me. What you have, fella? Give me a bottle of Coca-Cola, and be sure it's in the bottle." Ralph Childs and his wife, they come in to get a drink. Charlie Thompson and Justine. Cora Bryan sits by Mrs. Jack Dillon. Joe Bryan comes in to get a drink of water. Jack Dillon and Mrs. Speck Young leaving the saloon. Petroleum, Rex Morrison and his gang show up. That's Dr. Gump in the plaid shirt, Speck Young, and Perry. Charlie says, "Let's get out of here. It's getting too tough in here. That gang came in. Something's going to happen." Jim says, "Come on, Baldy, let's get this girl and dance." Petroleum's gonna get him a girl and dance. There's Tony Floyd. Thank you, ma'am, for the dance. Petroleum goes over to the bar and he said, "Bartend, give me a bottle." Vic Hatfield hands him a bottle. "Give me another glass." "Have a drink, buddy." "Have a drink." "No, thanks. I don't drink. I belong to the Lions Club." "You'll drink this or I'll pinch your head off." "You'll do what?" "Now you get around there and sit down and cool it." "Get me? Get around there and sit down and cool it." "That's right, buddy. Nobody's gonna hurt you. Come on, Baldy, let's get out of here." Jim was wanting to find the Circle K Ranch. He said, "Can you tell me, mister, how to get to the Circle K Ranch?" Grove said, "Sure. You go right down this road, you come to a big gate that says Circle K, then you're about 2 miles from the ranch house. Have a chew tobacco, buddy." Well, the hired hand and Sal, they're getting to the main gate of the ranch. They have only 2 more miles to go until they get to the ranch house. They finally arrive at the ranch house. Sal says, "Hello, Daddy." "Hello, Daddy, I'm home." Dr. Webster, M.F. Bayless, Dr. A.R. Sugg. Dr. Webster runs out and says, "Oh, honey, I'm glad you're home." "What happened?" "Oh," she said, "we got a little vacation from East Central." "Well, I'm glad you're home. Honey, I want you to meet a new foreman that I have, M.F. Bayless." "How you do, ma'am?" "And this new cook, Dr. A.R. Sugg." "How do you do?" "Boys, bring her trunk on in, will you?" Sal says, "Daddy," she said, "I think I'll change into my riding clothes and saddle up my horse." She said, "I haven't ridden that horse in so long, and I'd like to ride around over the ranch." He says, "That's a good idea, Sal. Come on in." Well, Jim and Baldy arrive at the main gate of the ranch, and Jim says, "Well, we're sure on the target today." Baldy says, "This is where the ranch is." So the horse is saddled and Sal's ready to take a ride over the ranch. Some of her pals and neighbors are also taking a ride today. They looked down to the left and they said, "Well, here comes Sal. She must be on vacation or something." "Hello, girls. How are you?" "Fine." "How's East Central?" "Oh, it's doing great. It's a great school." "Are there any boys there?" "Oh, man, are there? And there's some doolies." Sal says, "I'll be seeing you girls. I've got to get back to the ranch. It's getting late." So Jim and Baldy arrive at the ranch, and the ranch hand goes out to see and says, What do you fellows need?" He said, "I'd like to see the boss." Says, "He's in the house." Said, "Would you get him for me?" Tony Floyd said, "Sure will." Said, "My name's Webster. How you do, sir?" "Could I help you?" Jim said, "Well, I guess you could." "Well, what can I do for you?" "Well, let me tell you. I'm Petroleum of the Oklahoma Rangers, and I'm on a trail of a villain named Petroleum. I'm Gymnasium, I'm sorry. And he stole some gold teeth out of Dr. Moore's dentist's office, and we're after him. Well, here comes my daughter. I'm sure she doesn't know anything about it, but anyway, I want you to meet her. What is this hat doing on this horse's head? That's my hat, you know, and I'd like to have it. Well, you see, ma'am, I found it in the road. I don't care. I want my hat. Come on in, boys. Let's have a cup of coffee. Come on, Baldy. Sug likes to make lots of coffee when he makes coffee. He has the biggest pot. Well, he has the biggest coffee pot in the West, and he's pouring Jim some of that good coffee. Jim likes coffee, too. Jim says, "This sure is good coffee. What kind is it?" She says, "It's Hale's Leader, and we get it down at Dutch's." Baldy, go in to the Juliana and get us a room for tonight. Well, the gold miner's really working at it, and he's getting those nuggets out of that stream, some big ones. He's stacking them there on the bank. Jim and Sal decide to take a ride around the ranch. They get up here on top of the hill, and Sal looks down, and she says, "Jim, somebody's tearing down our fence." Jim says, "I'll go down and see about that." So Petroleum and his gang really are tearing down this fence. Virgil Manahan's one of the gang, Speck Young one of the gang, George Parrish one of the gang. Jim says, "Say, what are you guys doing tearing down this fence? Don't you know you're on private property? Don't you know you can't tear down a man's fence? Well, we're going to throw you in the hoosh cow. Now look, you get on that pony and get out of here. I'll tear your head off. You and your whole gang can't whip me. Oh, yeah?" All right, boss. Oh, now wait a minute. Wait a minute. Let's stop this fight. Just a minute. Let's hold everything. Ladies and gentlemen, when I started this fight, I thought I could whip these birds, but I can't whip them. Is anybody sitting out there in the audience that'd come up here and help me whip them? I'll help you. I'll help you. Hey, I'll help you. Well, come on up here then. Bill Glattman, Martin Clark, and George Altag. They're going to help him. Brother, they make fast work of it. Thank you, George. Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Bill. You boys go on back down there and sit down. Sure do thank you. Jim says, Sal, you go back to the ranch. I'm going to town to get the sheriff. Tony Floyd, the ranch hand, rides into town. He's been shot and he's in bad shape. Folks gather around and they said, man, this fellow's been shot. Somebody go get the doctor. Max Morrison goes after Dr. Thompson. Dr. Thompson says, why, this man has been shot. Or I'm half shot. Say, who did it, fella? Who did it? Who did it? Well, a gang came out to the ranch and they killed everybody, shot me, ran off with Sal. Who was it? Well, it's some gang. It was who? It was. The doctor says, boys, he's gone. He's gone. Preacher says, let's get this fella out of the street before the horses and wagons run over him. Let's put him in here on the porch of the general store till the undertaker can pick him up. Well, Petroleum and his gang, they have Sal. They've kidnapped her all right. They're on the way to the hangout. Pete says, boys, you take her on to the hangout. I'm going back to town. Well, Virgil Manahan and Spec Young get Sal. They're going to take her into the hangout. Mac Brawley comes out of the hangout. Dr. Gump's going to tie Sal up. Now, Dr. Gump is considered one of the champion tires of the West. He went off to tying school and he learned how to tie up a person in a real hurry. So Spec said, we're going to have a game at your cards, boys. Si Haley says, I pass. Spec says, I bid one spade. Perry says, I pass. Dr. Gump looked his hand over and said, I bid 7 no trump. The rest of the gang get there, and George Parrish talks to Mac Brawley. He says, Mac, you sit here and stand guard. So the undertaker, Dr. Brico, with Jim and Baldy, and the drunk who sober up a lot, and the preacher are going out to the ranch to pick up the bodies. Jim and Baldy ride in so they can help them put the last box on top. Jim says, Baldy, you're going back with the bodies. I'm going after them. Jim, he said, now look, Jim, said, I don't like dead bodies. Said, did you ever go to a Rotary Club luncheon? So Jim's tracking the gang. He's looking at all those hoof prints, the direction they're going, the depth of the hoof print, how many horses been along here. He knows all these things, you know. He's an Oklahoma Ranger. So he goes around to the back of the hangout. Jim slips up to that heavy club. And he got him. Jim gets Sal's attention, decides to write her a note. Note says, hold everything, Sal, going after the sheriff. So the sheriff and his posse get together and they're going out to capture the gang. On the way, they pick up a few of the neighbors. Bill Crawford, the sheriff, says, hold up, boys, hold up, hold up. We got to plan this attack. Now, you folks go around to the right, and you boys go around to the left, and we'll surround that little cabin. All right, you boys go that way. All right, boys in there, come out of that place. We'll blow it down. Come on out of there. Get those hands back up there, buddy. Wicked there goes in to get their guns. He has a little trouble getting the rope off over that tall man, but he makes it. Mac comes too, and he knows he's got to get out of there. He's got to get back and tell the boss that the jig is up. Well, Jim goes in now. He thinks it's safe to go in and get the girl. Why, honey, how are you? Did they hurt you? I hope they didn't hurt you, but my, they tied you all up. I never saw so much rope. I never saw such a good tie. I'll have you loose in a minute or 2 or 3 or I'm sure 4. All right, honey. Now you're all right. All right, you boys get your hands back up. Let's take these fellows out and hang them. Come on, this is a good hanging day. Let's take them out and hang them. Jim says, Sal, I want you to go with Baldy back to the ranch. I'm going to track down this petroleum and bring him in. Baldy, take Sal back to the ranch. Well, Mac Brawley's found his boss, Petroleum, and he says, Boss, we got to get out of the country. They've captured the whole gang, and they're after us. Pete says, let's go, buddy, let's go. Jim rides up and takes a bead on Brawley. Well, Petroleum says, this horse is too slow for me. Boy, I've ridden a lot of slow ones, but I can outrun this one. So he decides to get off and take it up to the booger woods. Well, Jim needs him to see where Pete's horse is, and so he decides to get off and go after him. Stay in the seats, boys. I can handle this fella. Well, they have the gang, and they found a good tree to hang them on, and Wicked Air is going to make the first throw across the limb. Perfect throw. Now, boys, let's get them up. Let's get them up tight and pull them up tight. Higher, higher. That's the way to do it. So the hanging's over. They go back to Ahloso. Well, they're going to have a big wedding. Jim is going to marry Sal, and Baldy's found him a gal. And this is going to be some wedding. All the folks all around have come in. And they've hired a band to sing a special song at the wedding. For I would love to call you Rose, dear, but roses fade away. Roses fade when winter time is near. I'd love to call you Daisy, but Daisy always tells what sweetheart loved to whisper in your ear. I'd love to call you Honey, but honey runs away. I much prefer a name like Clinging Vine. And if I call you Buttercup, little old tater bugs might eat you up. So I'll buy a ring, and it'll be a good one too, and change your name to mine. So here comes the preacher, and Baldy with his beautiful bride. Baldy's bride is from Texas. She was Miss America several years ago. Baldy says, I've just got to have a chew. Preacher says, ladies, do you promise to love, honor, and obey, and cook 3 hot meals every day? Take hold of hands, please. Hold hands again. I pronounce you man and wife. Mrs. Harvey Lambert, Mrs. Mafalda Scott, Ms. Roy Lawler and Buddy Lawler, Jim Green, Virginia Green and Blue, her little boy Gordon, Gene Gulick, Ms. Julia Smith, Ms. I.G. Killow, Jim Bullard, Harvey Lambert, Ralph Child, Bernie Looper, Tom Kelly, L.A. Grant, Burley Walker, and more and more. So they're going off on the honeymoon. Bill and Jim talked it over. They wanted to go to the Sasakwa Hilton, but the girl said, no, that's too far away. Let's go to the Juliana there in Ahloso. So off they go on their honeymoon. And this ends our little story. Thank you for watching.
Just a delightful movie. Well, I'd like to thank Mr. Pete Green for being with us and sharing this bit of history with us. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, and I want to thank Ms. Florence Ambrose for playing the piano for our movie. Thank you.
Thank you to her. And now let's take another look at our sponsors of tonight's movie.